Welcome into your council recap. It's another recap here with your City Administrator Chad Brecklin. Chad, we had a council meeting last night on the September 24th, and we're going to jump right into it as we continue to recap and give you the insights into your council meeting. So we'll jump right down into the commission and committees. We start with Plan Commission. One of the three items on there, one only being taken up. So we start with the resolution R180-24. I'm just skipping like the dashes now too.
Yeah, no, that's we're all good there, Jeremy. So this initial item that was under the Plan Commission section of the council agenda was for a certified survey map. This is kind of one of the first stages in a development process, basically creating a buildable parcel in this particular situation. So this is a parcel that's located at the near the intersection of Central Park Place and Lacey Road, a little bit off to the northwest there at Lacey. But ultimately, this will be a lot that was created for a new multifamily apartment building that's anticipated to have about 100 units in it.
And they tabled the next two items. So if you're keeping track at home here, the next two items, 24 and 25, tabled till future pieces there. So we'll come back with that in future.
Yeah, both of those were postponed at the request of the respective developers. Some things just hadn't come together in time for council to take these up, so they had requested postponement. And then moving on to the fourth item under the Plan Commission section. That was a zoning ordinance change in regards to some property that's owned by Thermo Fisher on the city's northwest side. This particular parcel is at the intersection of, I believe, Spoke Drive and County Highway PD or McKee Road. And this is a rezone that would allow for future construction of a fitness, health center, and child care facility, which is likely to be a YMCA.
Fantastic. Moving over to Board of Public Works parts, we have a change order, number 2 on the street resurfacing project. What are we talking?
Yeah, so this one is a little bit interesting. In particular, we have Fitchburg Road, Nesbitt Road, and Seminole Highway were our three main roadways that were affected by an issue with some delaminating previous chip seal maintenance product. And the original intent was to grind that off and then put new chip seal down. However, that option was, after we got into it, determined to probably not be the best solution for a smooth roadway and a longer lasting surface. So ultimately, the change order here is going to allow us to basically resurface these roads and create a nice smooth driving surface. And that will obviously last longer than a maintenance treatment would have anyway. We do appreciate everyone's patience as we've worked through this because we know that there are a few sections of roadway that have been milled and have those grooves in it. And it has been a bit of an inconvenience to drive on over the course of the last several weeks with that out there. But we are anticipating that this will be completed by mid-October, and we'll have some smooth roads in those sections to drive on.
Absolutely, and we'll keep you up to date on the daily show of those road closures coming up, so you can stay tuned for that. Then we switch over to restricting parking. Let me say that right there. This is near the Forest Edge Elementary School.
Yeah, this is in Terra Vista neighborhood, as you pointed out, near the Forest Edge Elementary School, which is one of the Oregon School District's buildings. And Terra Vista is a rather dense neighborhood when you're looking at the number of units and the space between those units. And what we've been finding in this particular area is there was a lot of parking taking place that was creating some issues for our school buses to get in and out of there. A little bit on the pedestrian side as well, creating some challenges for crossing the road and so forth. But between this ordinance, which now restricts parking to not allow it, the previous solution restricting it during certain time periods was not effective. So ultimately this came in as the preferred or required solution to try to ease up that area and allow the buses through in a bit more better pedestrian access.
Yeah, it gets pretty congested during when school's starting and ending, so being a little bit safer there as well works out. No, it's a little bit more of an inconvenience, but in the long run, just going to make things a lot easier for everybody getting in and out of that area.
And I will add, if I may, that we had done some outreach to both residences and a couple of businesses that were in that general vicinity prior to enacting this ordinance.
All right, over to the Fitchburg Public Library on a county library tax. Happens every year and needs approval.
Yeah, an annual occurrence, which is a request to exempt us from the county library tax. The reason we're able to request that exemption is because the city does fund its own library operations, and therefore we do not need to rely on the county for our library operations, and therefore get an exemption for the county library tax. And again, as you mentioned, that is an annual occurrence that we are required to pass at the Common Council level.
You talk more about it than probably it has for the approval that just needs to happen, that one of those, maybe you could say routine, but it happens each and every year, so
right,
it works out.
An annual routine occurrence.
There you go. Over to the Finance Committee, and they're talking about amending the 2024 general budget for police vehicles. What's happening here?
Yeah, so in consultation or conversation with our police chief, they've had some older vehicles that they've had to keep longer than anticipated, largely because of some of the supply chain issues coming still out of the COVID pandemic. And as these vehicles have aged longer than we typically would keep them, they've had higher maintenance costs and needs. So they needed to do, they meaning the police department, needed to do an amendment to their budget in order to help cover any additional anticipated requests for maintenance through the end of this year. They do have new vehicles on order, so hopefully this situation will ultimately be resolved a little bit sooner rather than later.
Off to Public Safety and Human Services. While we're not going to get into the details necessarily about the specific item here, in general, for folks who aren't familiar with it, when it comes to licensing, you actually have to get some licensing down to the person, even if it's a business or your own personal person working at a place. What am I talking about?
Yeah, so in this case, we're talking about an operator license, or more importantly, it's typically kind of the short for a bartender's license. And municipalities such as Fitchburg require folks to get a license in order to be a bartender. That talks about things like over-service and how to handle situations and reporting issues and those sorts of things. But ultimately, there is criteria that need to be met in order to be granted a bartender's license. And there are, from occasion, situations that pop up that require a little bit more attention and conversation at the Public Safety Committee meeting, and this was one of those, and that ultimately, in this case, the request for that license was approved at both the Public Safety Committee level and the Common Council level. Fantastic.
Thanks for breaking that down. We'll turn our attention here to some new business on direct referral, approving for a communications firm to come in and do some work with the city.
Yeah, so we do have a great communications team here in the city.
Darn right we do.
As you are well aware, and you are a card-carrying member of that team, and we thank you very much for your efforts, Jeremy, as well as those on the team. What the purpose of this is, we had set aside some funding in our ARPA TID closure investment plan to work with a communications consultant to help bring some additional capacity to our communications, since right now, generally speaking, there isn't really one individual or group of individuals who is strictly responsible for citywide communications. Obviously, you and your team do the very best that you can by sharing information, but ultimately, your capacity is even limited from other communications perspectives. So this is designed to bring in a consultant to help bring some capacity, then also take a look at our existing communications strategy, offer any potential recommended improvements or enhancements to that, and then ultimately create a recommended citywide communications strategy for us to utilize moving forward.
Yeah, we'll look forward to presenting some of that information as it comes up there, certainly. Final resolution for the evening is on declaring the intent to exercise special assessment. This is for some sidewalk work. Walk us through what this means.
Yeah, so every year the city typically does sidewalk repair. Any of the sections of sidewalk throughout our community that have got cracks or become unsafe, the city hires a contractor to come in and replace those sections of sidewalk. Our city does have a policy via ordinance that assesses the cost or a portion of the cost, depending on the situation, to its property owners adjacent to those sidewalks. And ultimately, this is a requirement of the process to do the assessment, is to have a hearing in front of the Board of Public Works and ultimately determine or state that we are going to assess these costs back to the property owners. All the affected property owners have been notified. They have the ability to come to the special hearing, which will be at the October 7th Board of Public Works meeting, and ask any questions, or otherwise perhaps maybe offer evidence that perhaps they don't need sidewalk replacement, for instance. And again, this is just part of that statutorily required process that we need to follow in order to do that assessment.
All right, that concludes this update. Next council meeting, October 8th. Chad, appreciate the time. Certainly you can tune in to watch the full council meetings. We have those available through Fact TV, both on demand, and of course you can watch it live as well. Nice seeing you, buddy.
Good to see you as well. Thank you.